How does my hair look?
Good.
Because Service Ontario didn't like the way my bangs were down when you took my picture.
They have requirements, right?
Okay.
Is this live?
Yeah. So we're here in Toronto. We're back for a few days. We had some doctor's appointments and we wanted to see two of our kids that are still living here. And so we've just taken a moment between appointments and dinner to go to Bellwood Trinity Park, quite famous park in downtown Toronto. And if you can see the CN Towers over here somewhere, very tiny, but we're downtown. So an update to our costs for August. We had an episode a few weeks ago with our July costs. I've pulled together the numbers for August, and I'm tempted actually. We've been putting groceries and eating out costs, and I got quite a bit of feedback on that. I don't know if people actually listened to or read explanations about it completely, but we provisioned twice in July, like heavily, and use those provisions in August. So our eating out and our grocery numbers sometimes look big or small, but it's because we're not consistent about when we're going to shop. So last month it was about $1,300 Canadian for groceries, and this month it was in August it was $528. So quite a bit less. However, eating out increased because as we entered Lake Michigan, we started meeting other loopers. And if you're doing the loop, you know that you kind of leapfrog a little bit with other loopers, but you tend to show up and in the same places, and you go out to dinner, and it's nice to socialize and meet other people. So if you actually add those two numbers together, it's pretty close to what we spent last month for those two categories.
Did you actually list the number for eating out?
So the eating out number was just under $1,200 Canadian, and that was for the entire month of August, even before we hit the States, which I would say the first 10 days we didn't eat out much because we were in the North Channel.
And that includes a couple of fairly nice and I guess on the expensive side restaurants, but yes, it was fun.
There were a couple times we went out as big groups to rather nicer restaurants than your usual. So it was quite a lot of fun to meet people. And we have met some people that I'm sure we're going to run into again, and we're looking forward to running into them again and spending some time with them. Why don't you do dock fees? Because we knew this one was going to be higher.
Yeah, so dock fees in August were $2,082.36. And if memory serves, we anchored out maybe 3 or 5 times in August.
Oh, I had those numbers before. So 8 times in August, because up to August 10th we were still in Canada.
Oh.
So we actually had 8 days in August that we anchored out, 2 of which were in the States.
So we spent a lot of time in docking as we came down Lake Michigan, and oftentimes we would dock for multiple days because the weather wasn't great.
Yeah.
I think it was part of just the reality of coming down Lake Michigan and being comfortable while we did it. There are more opportunities to anchor if you want to, but for a number of reasons, we just chose not to.
Essentially, where Chris might have anchored out and been comfortable doing that more often than we did, when a storm was coming in, even though the anchorages are typically on the inner lakes of these towns, I wasn't comfortable not knowing if the wind would pick up even in those lakes. So we did bias a little bit towards being at marinas for August on Lake Michigan.
So no dinghy fuel. Okay, so we did fuel the boat a little. We put, I think, 50 gallons in, if I recall correctly, in Petoskey, and we didn't have to. We could have easily made it here without refueling. We have about half a tank of fuel, slightly more, I would say.
Left right now?
Yeah, left right now.
And we're in Hammond, Indiana right now.
Yeah, and so we will fill it. I'm guessing we're going to fill it before we start heading down the river system.
Yeah, before we go to Chicago, I think.
But honestly, I think our numbers are better than I had thought for gallons per hour or
gallons per nautical mile.
Gallons per nautical mile, or however you want to measure it. I still don't have a firm number, but I think it's over 3, edging towards 4 nautical miles per gallon, which would be really pretty good. Yeah. So I think I may have flipped that number around just a few seconds ago. Anyway, I'm pretty pleased with what we're getting.
So our other category was boat upgrades and safety equipment. And last month we got the anchor, like a full chain anchor, and that number was pretty high. This month it was about $470 Canadian, and that included a trip to West Marine and Petoskey for some small items for the boat, some line to hang the courtesy flag and a bunch of other things. And an item that, now that I'm looking at my notes, because I didn't bring everything with me, I can't remember what the other item was, but I'll put it up here once I've edited. So for boat comforts, we only spent about $70, and these were things that I added to the galley, things that I was thinking that we were missing. So it was just to make our lives more comfortable and more like home. I'm happy to say for YouTube investment was a big fat zero this month.
And so excitingly, we actually monetized the channel in August. So that means that we actually started earning money. It's not a lot, but it is something.
So we actually we knew we were getting close, and if you don't know, to monetize on YouTube you have to have 1,000 subscribers, which we had quite a while ago, and you have to have 4,000 watch hours in the last rolling calendar, so 365 days. And we actually hit that with the episode about Mackinac Island. So the channel did tip over to the monetization part of it, and even though we were kind of aiming for that as a goal, it wasn't a goal in terms of, oh, we're going to have lots of money from this. It was sort of like a goal, can we do it? And we have done it, and I don't really know where we go from here. As long as we have the time and the inclination to keep doing videos, we probably will, and I don't know about the rest. So it'll take a lot more to earn enough money to pay for that drone, let me tell you. Because from ad revenue especially, you don't make a lot on YouTube. You can just talk to anyone, and that's not where the money comes from when you're a YouTube content creator. And I've been toying around with the idea of sharing more about our numbers for our YouTube monetization, just because it's interesting to me, and I think it would open a lot of eyes as to just how little you do get from YouTube strictly on ad revenue. But we'll see. We'll see how much time I have and what kind of, if I'm still interested in doing that later. So YouTube, we didn't spend anything on it this month.
Health insurance.
Oh, you skipped other.
Oh, well, there's so
little. So there's another category, but I didn't know where to put it. We went out to see a movie with some Looper friends when we were in Manistee, so it was just $35.
Health insurance was, and that movie was
Asteroid City.
Asteroid City, and if anybody's figured out the plot to that movie,
we'd like to know.
Let us know in the comments.
Because that was a really weird movie.
It was kind of an interesting movie.
Lots of big names.
Health insurance. So we, as Canadians traveling abroad, we needed to get health insurance to be covered.
Well, we didn't need to, but it's recommended.
Yeah, in the States. And so that cost us $2,650.
For 6 months.
And that's by far our biggest expense.
And, you know, it does seem really expensive. We're not especially, we don't have a lot of health issues, so it wasn't, the reason it's expensive isn't necessarily for that reason. But I think we could probably look around for a little bit better deal on health coverage, because we got that at the last minute. It's the same company that we used when we were in the States for a short period of time last year. But I think we need to take a look at that. Interestingly, one of the things we were doing this morning is we got into Service Ontario this morning in Toronto, because if you can maintain your OHIP coverage, and it's true of other provinces, for a certain period of time if you're out of the country traveling or working or studying. In Ontario, that's 7 months in any year. And if you know that you're going to be gone for more than 7 months, you can actually apply for an extension to your OHIP, 1 or 2 years. And because we know that we're probably going to be gone, we definitely will be gone for more than 7 months, and we don't know how long after that, we decided to extend it. But you have to do it in person. You can't do it online or on the phone. So you have to come in and do it in person. And it's relatively quick. They just get you to fill out a very simple form, and they change it right there. If your picture needs to be updated, they update your picture, but then they mail you a new health card. So, I mean, we have our mail being picked up by our son, so once he comes in, we'll just get him to forward to us. But you keep your old OHIP card, and you have a little piece of paper saying that the 2 letters at the end have changed. And that gives, if you have to use it, that gives everybody, you know, the information that you're living abroad at the moment for travel purposes. So that was a big expense, the extra insurance, but having used it before, in January when I broke my wrist in Georgia, there's no way we would leave Canada without extra insurance.
Well, not when traveling to the States.
Not when traveling to the States.
It's very expensive to be
treated.
Covering things privately.
Yeah, because we figure it was probably $5,000 or $6,000 for my broken wrist between all the doctors and the ER visit and everything. And there's no reason to take that chance. And it was a fairly minor break and a minor visit and everything. Yeah. So health insurance is a given for us, for sure.
So that takes us to tipping and laundry, which are both pretty small categories. I guess I don't know why our tipping is lower.
Well, as we headed south on Lake Michigan, it got later in the summer, and marinas were losing their staff because often they were young people and they were headed back to school. So not only was it really difficult to hail anybody coming into the marinas, because there's usually one person working at the end of the summer and that person's running around doing stuff, they don't have anybody to come out and meet you, so there was no one there to tip, actually. So in most places it was other boaters that were standing around that would come over and handle lines, or we did it ourselves, which we had been wanting to for a while. It's been nice having people there to grab your lines, but we felt we needed more practice doing it on our own.
And laundry's lower, not because we're doing less laundry, but it's just less expensive in the States.
Well, it got less expensive, and I think we were stretching out the times that we did laundry.
Yeah, but
I know that I purchased some more underwear, and so, we didn't have to do laundry quite as often, just to have knickers and under things. So
Sure. Knickers. And that's pretty much it. I will say, I think Sandra's been calling these videos budgets.
I know, I said cost to do the loop.
Oh, cost to do the loop.
Do we have a budget?
No, we don't. That's actually why I wanted to bring it up.
Yeah.
We don't actually have a budget. We and whether that's a good idea or not, I don't know. We've talked to loopers who do have budgets, but we've just kind of monitor as we're going, and generally it's worked out. So, if budgeting is something that makes sense and you want to do it, it certainly makes sense to me. We're just not, I guess, that organized, and we're just not there having an actual...
I think it's more for me that we know that in our current financial situation that we can pay monthly with what income we have coming in. So we haven't felt the need yet to restrict that in any way or to tie it to any limits. And we don't buy a lot in terms of going out and buying clothes and doing other things like that. So really what we're spending money on is groceries, living expenses, docking, fuel, whatever.
I would say that, beyond the day-to-day just expenses of living, like, whether you're paying rent or you're coming into a marina to stay somewhere, one of our single largest expenses continues to be boat projects as we upgrade the boat to where we want it to be. This month we're putting a heater on the boat, and we've upgraded to have the ability to transmit AIS, and I think we've finished upgrading the radio on the helm.
Another VHF radio.
So all this costs money, makes us feel better, particularly as we're going into the rivers with a lot of large boat traffic, barges. But again, I would say that's been our single biggest source of expenses. Is just
and that may not be an expense for most people on doing the loop. They may have a boat that's absolutely perfect and ready to go, and so it's not an issue for some people.
Although, from the people that we're talking to and other people's experiences, I would say either projects or just, maintenance as issues arise on the boat is a reality.
Yeah, that's true.
So
the grand total in Canadian is very close to what it was last month, actually, $7,300 approximately. However, I want to remove the health insurance out of this to be realistic, because if you're American, you wouldn't have it, and if you're Canadian, you might be able to get it for less expensively or whatever. So if we take that out, it's about $4,600 Canadian, and I'll put up the US equivalency using, I think, 1.35 multiplier or 0.7 whatever that is. So in American, that would be like $3,400. And this is a very comfortable living for us. Like we're living on the boat. It's comfortable. We don't feel deprived of anything. We're not doing without. If we want to eat out, we're eating out. If we don't, we don't.
Possibly space. The boat is getting shorter.
So I think that's pretty good. I think for going down the rivers, if there's now that we're going to have heat, I think we're going to try to anchor out more because we do enjoy it. And sometimes we just like to be on the hook and kind of have a quiet evening and bob around.
We'll see how it goes. I mean, it was certainly interesting that in August we anchored out so much that our dock fees were only $500. July, and then in August it was almost flipped around. So yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, so that's it. And we have a few more episodes coming up to cover the distance we've made on Lake Michigan until we got to Hammond. And then the next ones after that will be going down the river system, which is a couple of weeks away yet, but the AGLCA is working really hard to organize everything so that people go through the newly soon to be opened canals and lock system south of Chicago in a very organized manner so that everyone can get through promptly and not make trouble for the lock masters going through there. So we still have a couple weeks to do boat projects and enjoy Indiana and Chicago. Our daughter comes next week to spend almost a week with us. We're really looking forward to that. This is the one that moved back to Calgary. And so we'll probably take a little bit more footage of her visit. It's going to be a real treat to see her. And hopefully some of our other kids will visit us as we continue to do the loop and different locales. And so I'm really looking forward to that.
Yep, me too.
Any last thoughts? Nope.
None.
Right.
I think we'll go for a walk.
Let's go for a walk. We'll find coffee, of course, in the afternoon.
Coffee, sure.
And then we're going to, I think it's a Vietnamese noodle house or something
with
on
the
Spadina
kids.
with the kids for dinner.
Yeah.
There's one that Helen and her partner took us to before they left to go back west, and it was really nice. So we're going to try that.
Yeah, and I'll add this at the end of this discussion. To come back to Toronto, we obviously crossed the border, and we had to rent a car, and it just so happened that the plates from that car were in Texas. This is the first time either one of us has been pulled over for
That's not true.
An inspection. You've been pulled over for an inspection?
Do you remember I used to visit you in Vermont, and after 9 months of doing it, she pulled me over.
It's been a long time since either one of us were pulled over for an inspection, but I guess the combination of a rental car, telling people we traveled south on a boat, and coming back with Texas plates.
And we had one thing to declare, which was a little toy for our great nephew, who's almost a year old. And that combination of things and us consistently saying no to guns, cannabis, and sharp objects
obviously triggered something.
I don't know. The Canadians didn't like us.
Yeah,
our own Canadians.
Just not something that would have occurred to me.
It was fine.
It wasn't a big deal.
She told us to pull over. We did. 6 people with gloves on, just kind of combed through the car for about 5 minutes, less than 5 minutes.
Very long.
And they said, "Okay, you're good to go," and off we went. But it made us almost late to see little Theo, but we made it.
Yes.
All right, let's go find coffee.
Yeah.
Bye, guys.